Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am but one of your hosts. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre. There we go, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how's it going, pal?
Howdy ho, neighbor.
Oh, Miss Wilson, is that you? I'm looking for Joe. Is Joe around here?
Oh, you see here, Jim. In my experience. All right, yeah.
Oh, it's
hey,
Joe.
Jimmy,
Oh,
how's it going? Yeah,
I thought you were a 1990s sitcom neighbor for a second. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I think I owe that guy.
Giving a little friendly advice over the fence.
Yep, yeah. As you normally do. Always hanging out in your backyard doing who knows what. You never know.
I'm 6'4". I build a tall fence.
Oh yeah, you do.
To keep those pesky neighbors out of my yard.
Yes. But the people we don't want to keep out are our lovely Legionnaires. Everybody joining us this week, thank you so much. If you're joining us for the first time, Joe and I like to talk about movies, video games, TV shows, all the things we love so very, very much. And this week, we've got a heck of a lot to talk about. But I want to start with the news. Now, we have a lot of news here, and it's going to kind of bleed into the main topic of the show. However, I want to start on something that, not necessarily controversial, but something that Joe and I hold very near and dear to our hearts. And I'm not sure how Joe's feeling about this, but we got a teaser for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, or Jurassic World 2, as it were. Basically, if you haven't seen it, there's not a lot there. It's basically Chris Pratt kind of playing with a little baby velociraptor. Might be Blue from the movie as a youngster, maybe a flashback or something like that.
Spoiler alert, bites his pinky off.
No, he doesn't. He's got his pinkies though in the movie. Remember, because he's drinking a Coke and he's fixing a bike and all this stuff. But
no, not if it's not a flashback. He could lose a hand.
Well, but yeah, it might not be a flashback. It could be present day. But how do you feel, man? Like, because for me, there's not much to go off of yet. But
There's essentially nothing to go off of yet. I mean, we don't know. I mean, we assume that's a flashback just because, it looks like blue and all that bull crap. And, the velociraptors are all different colors and all that crap and whatever. Whatever. We've got nothing to go off of right now, right? I mean, no predictions, no nothing. But we'll have to see what develops, what more they tease us with. But
does it stir any emotion in you at all for being a franchise that both of us really love dearly? Does it do anything for it?
Not a bit. I'm sick of them teasing the dinosaurs like there's some sort of little pet that you can walk up and, caress.
Yeah, I guess I get that. Well, but at the same time, I understand the natural evolution of that, kind of looking at like domesticating wolves to be dogs and doing the same thing, but it's just so difficult because it never got to that point. It seemed like in Jurassic World, spoilers for that, the Raptors' allegiance kind of fit with the plot at any time. It was like, they're good guys, they're bad guys, they're good guys again. It's kind of like, you got to pick a side, Raptors. Like, you can't just be like bouncing all over the place. So, yeah, I hope we don't get more of that. It's not like he's going to have like a pet Spinosaurus. It's like, oh, easy, girl, easy. It's about a relationship, It's like, okay, I don't think it's going to work out, but yeah, I want to see more about this. I'm intrigued because we heard a while ago, Joe, remember they said they're going to kind of bring it, scale is going to be down a little bit more kind of like a thriller, maybe horror focus, again, kind of like the first movie was.
They have to bring it back to, it's like Call of Duty. For so long it's going with that, we got to do the crazy new out there techniques and tactics and weaponry. And it got a little stale, it was just too much almost. And now that it's gone back to its roots, with the more I don't want to say basic, but
but it is basic. That's not bad.
It is. Yeah, it's basic roots that just has a good feel to it. It doesn't enter in so many elements of confusion and chaos. It's just more straightforward and enjoyable. And I think, and chaos is the wrong term because you want a little chaos in Jurassic Park, but in the same way, Jurassic World took it to a whole nother level where it's not as like you don't get as much of an ominous feeling. It's more of like one of those horror movies that you've seen where everything is formulaic and it goes wrong, and of course this guy's gonna make a stupid decision, screw it up. When all along you're watching that Jurassic World movie, like, You're telling me that they couldn't have put that thing down? Oh, and they were gonna shock it, like taser it and bring it back or trank it. Come on,
Yeah.
come on. You know that's not gonna work. It's just, oh, I heard a noise down in the dark basement. I'm gonna go check it out. It was.
That's
I got that feeling from that movie so many times. It's stupid, and in the whole training of the Velociraptors, it's plausible to a certain degree, but it's a little just ridiculous. The whole riding through the woods with velociraptors with helmet cams, it's just stupid to me.
yeah. Fair enough. No, that definitely makes sense. And I think, ever since like The Lost World, it got into some kind of stupid horror tropes. Whereas in the first Jurassic Park, it was based around the fact that there was somebody on the inside that was getting paid and bribed by another company to sabotage this place. And all the people there weren't necessarily stupid. They were just caught completely off guard. Like they weren't like, I'm gonna go check this out by myself. It's like, Ellie Sattler, you gotta go over here to get the power back on. You don't want to go here by yourself, but you're the only person right now who can go and do this. And she's like, okay, and she does it. And it's like this horrible, like harrowing event. And when she runs back in, to Alan, like later on, she's like freaking out. She's like, I almost got ripped apart by velociraptors. Like Samuel Jackson's dead. Like that in Jurassic World is just like, let's throw as many monsters or many dinosaurs at the screen as we possibly can. Like, how scary are all these things? And you're like, come on. Why would you let the CEO drive a helicopter? And when he's had like a few lessons, it's like,
yeah, it's all just bull crap. And I think, the first one, they do a good job of using environments and environmental situations to create these tense moments with the dinosaurs.
Or even not with like the electric fence. Like that part's freaky and there's no dinosaurs at all. You're like,
all they show you is a T-Rex hand.
Oh, I meant the kid, like when like Tim's climbing up and over it. They're like, hey, the electricity's come back on. You got to get over this thing or you're going to get shocked.
Yeah, that. I mean, use other aspects to these movies. It doesn't need to be all about, oh, look, velociraptors, and you get to see them for like, there were more dinosaurs featured in Jurassic World than humans for the most part. You saw them all the time, constantly, and it was almost too much. They need to create that feeling of suspense, like, you don't see it, but it's there, or oh, it could pop out at any moment, and that's I think what people want is that edge of your seat thrill, as opposed to okay, there it is running around again. Okay, yeah, there it is roaring on a cliff. Okay, yeah, oh, there's Chris Pratt training all the velociraptors. Look at him run around. Oh, look at him chase the pig. Oh, cute. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
In the whole military aspect, we're going to weaponize these things. Like they're going to go in and all the enemies going to see our teeth. Yeah. And all the velociraptors are going to see our bullets riddling their body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I think I still, one of these days, if you join me or not, Joe, I do really want to go back and do a Jurassic World commentary because we could just sit here and eviscerate it. But I think, for me, I'm just hopeful that they've learned, even though it made a ton of money. It made so much money. So the fervor for dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World is there. I just hope they get back to what made it so special in the first place. And I'm hoping that's what the sequel does here. So at least this teaser wasn't like him looking out at like 1,000 baby velociraptors and he's like, oh no, they found a way. Life finds a way. Like I'd be like, oh no. I'd be like, uh-oh. Like, I don't want that at all. So hopefully we're gonna get some more soon. And then until then, I'm gonna try to stay optimistic. It's kind of like The Hobbit compared to Lord of the Rings. It's nice to be back in the world, but it's not the same. So that's just how.
You're right there. You're right. Even the first Jurassic Park was great. Jurassic Park Lost World was good, except for the whole bringing it back to San Francisco. Because Jurassic Park Lost World, I mean, it showed a little more dinosaur features, but it was still kind of the same directional approach, I guess, as Jurassic Park 1. Jurassic Park 3 was fun. I mean, you can't lie. There were some really good moments in that film. But yeah, these have taken a whole new turn. Like, we got to be bigger and better. And no, return to the roots a little bit. Be what you once were, which made you such a household name.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the nice thing that Jurassic Park came with was a lot of ethical debate and also kind of scary aspects to it. The thing I like a lot about 3 is that it's more of just a desperate struggle for them because they like Alan he wasn't necessarily wanting to do any of this, and he kind of gets there under false pretenses, and he's just running for his life in that one. Lost World's got this kind of pseudo military aspect mixed with a bunch of stuff, bringing dinosaurs back to the mainland. That movie's got a lot going on, and it's kind of crazy. But I hope they don't try to do any stupid, weird, like human dinosaur hybrid like they originally thought for Jurassic World. I hope we don't get to that, because then we're starting to get into like straight up monster movie stuff, and we were close enough with Indominus, and I do not want to go back to that. Please. Anyway, I want to talk about something else, Joe, because I can start on this all night. We got some Justice League numbers here from their opening weekend, and unfortunately the news is not super duper great. So Justice League opened at about $94 million here domestically. And to put that in perspective for everybody, if you're kind of like, I don't know exactly if that's good or bad, comparatively, it is the lowest of all the openings for any of the other DC movies thus far, which kind of sucks. Batman vs. Superman came in at 166 million, with Suicide Squad being 133, Man of Steel 116, and Wonder Woman 103 million. Now, the cool thing about Wonder Woman is we like to talk about her all the time. I'm not going to put the music in. I'm tempted to, but I'm not.
Wonder Woman.
I'm not doing it. Otherwise, I'll just don't dance. Can't dance. Anyway, she ended up making, or that film ended up making, the most of any superhero origin film anywhere ever, which is really cool. So that's really cool for them, and it seemed to kind of set the narrative going into Justice League here. Now, they only have 2 other movies officially kind of with dates right now. We have Aquaman, which I believe is coming next year, and then Wonder Woman 2, which is in the pipeline, I think, for 2019 or something like that. Kind of unfortunate, though, Joe. You think that if, we have the Justice League here, we're having all these big characters, it should potentially have the highest, opening in theaters than comparatively to the other ones, but it doesn't seem to be that way. We're starting to see kind of like a weird kind of trend with these movies where there's a lot of big name actors, a lot of cool like superheroes and stuff, but a tonal shift that people are still not quite sure of, because you have some people who really like the Zack Snyder version and they wanted that movie, and that's not what this movie is. This is much more of an Avengers style kind of thing with Joss Whedon at the helm. So I just want to know what you think and feel about that opening weekend and where you see DC going in the future.
Yeah, the whole opening weekend thing, I mean, yeah, you would expect it to have the highest opening of any of the DC universe movies, but I think something that hurt it is the timing. If you really think about it, and just knowing my own life and seeing what people are doing around this time of year, I mean, you're right up against Thanksgiving. Most people are kind of preparing that weekend for Thanksgiving. They got errands to run, things to do, yada, yada. Getting travel plans set up and all that. Not really good time to, plan a little R&R for a movie. And then all of a sudden, the following weekend, it's Thanksgiving weekend. People are busy. They're out of town. They're meeting with family. They're having meals. They're watching football. Movies take back seat, right? Let's face it.
I don't know. Coco did really well. The new Pixar movie that just came out, like that did really well. They usually do well like at that time of year. So I would counter that and say that a lot of times the animated stuff does really well for the families, like Thanksgiving. That's when a lot of the Pixar movies come out. So it came in and knocked Justice League down to second place for the following weekend. So
yeah, I don't even know what Coco is.
It's a Pixar film. It's about a kid, Day of the Dead, goes to the spirit world. Don't worry about it. It's
perfect
fine.
Thanksgiving treat, right?
Yeah. Well, also, the thing is, too, it comes 2 weeks after Thor Ragnarok, so I wonder if there's, there's not necessarily all overlap with superhero films, but I wonder if a lot of people looked at this and said, hey, if I'm going to go see one movie, this kind of winter time right now before Star Wars, presumably, maybe I'm just going to see Thor, and I'm fine with that, Maybe that was the thing that people were.
Yeah, maybe I trust Marvel more to have a good experience than, take a chance on Justice League DC. Maybe.
Yeah,
there's some truth to that. Yeah. It's interesting. Like Batman vs. Superman, I don't want to say it flopped, but I think it was highly anticipated. People. It's interesting. So you kind of talked about the order a little bit. So number 1 is Wonder Woman at gross 412 million plus. Batman vs. Superman 330 million plus. Suicide Squad 325 plus, and then Man of Steel 291 plus, which that's not really all that great itself. But Man of Steel, I think people still like him. They liked him in Batman vs Superman, even though other circumstances and characters made it dumb. But I mean, it's interesting. That's the order they go in. Batman vs Superman had the highest opening of any of them.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of it's because they introduced Batman and Wonder Woman, so they kind of got that trifecta, and I think a lot of people were excited to see that on screen in the
Yeah,
modern day for the first time ever, like to see Wonder Woman
I
standing
won't.
next to Superman and Batman.
Yep, I won't lie. I think Wonder Woman was kind of a draw for that one for sure. And plus, I think they did a good job of keeping it kind of a mystery as to how it panned out between Batman and Superman. You don't really know. I mean, Batman, or you thought Superman was going to survive. He didn't due to other circumstances, but it was I don't know. There's a bit of what do you want to say? Clever. Oh, I don't know what the word is, Jimmy. Mystery to it. There you go.
Not like a
Mystery.
misdirect or something, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you want to know what happens there, and it's kind of an epic thing. Those two kind of going to war at each other. But
Yeah, if they actually did it for more than like a few minutes, I mean, the whole movie is called that. It's like they should have fought for longer. Anyway, sorry.
yeah, but no, it's just it's interesting to see where that one panned out, and that one is not very critically acclaimed. A lot of people say they didn't like it, they hated it, but it still did really well. I mean, not really well, but it did well. 330 million. I mean, second only to Wonder Woman at 412.
The issue is, and it's hard to, we always want to compare it to Marvel and stuff, and even though you can compare them because they're like superhero films and things like that. They are very different things. The problem is, you think Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman would probably at one time have garnered a closer to $1 billion mark compared to something like the Avengers, which people didn't know the Avengers like 10 years ago. Like Marvel built that up to a thing that people are like, we all have to see this. That's why those movies have been making so much, they built towards it. And I think that's something Justice League and DC are working to get to,
And what was the highest grossing one for Marvel?
I'd have to check, but they've had both the Avengers made over 1 billion, I think. Also the Iron Man films
together, but separately, right? They each achieved $1 million. Yeah.
I was gonna say the entirety of. I was reading this Vanity Fair cover, and I think they said that it's the entirety of. Okay, so just for instance, the $98 million opening of Iron Man. So that was where it all began, which is pretty impressive. But I think they said that it was like something like 13 or 15 billion dollars between all of like the Marvel films to date now. It's like super duper ridiculous. It's like, oh yeah, see, more than $13 billion at the global box office. It's like that's insane. And that's for like I think they're like up to 17 or 20 movies or something like that. That's just like that's a lot of money. But yeah, so the Avengers, usually because it's like a big thing, and because Robert Downey Jr. is such a big star now, like even Iron Man 3 I think did like crazy bonkers numbers too. But I can look that up while you're making your point about that versus DC if you had one.
Well, no, I guess I don't. I mean, Avengers and all that, they kind of beat DC to the punch. So I think people feel like they've seen it before, and maybe there's a little bit more appeal with Avengers because of the really, I don't know. And it also seems to be a little more kid friendly to a certain degree too. But who knows how those things factor in? It's just interesting. You can never predict how the market's going to behave on things like this, but. There were some good reviews and some bad reviews on Justice League, and quite frankly, I understand some of the bad points that have been made, and we picked it apart pretty well in our podcast. We spent over an hour talking about it, but all I know is how I feel about a movie. I mean, I love all the Marvel movies; they're great and all. But here, I mean, the box office showings don't really stand with how I felt about each movie. Like for sure, the way I'd rank, I mean, Wonder Woman easily number 1, Justice League number 2, Batman vs Superman number 3, then Man of Steel, and then Suicide Squad. I feel bad even ranking it, but number 5. I don't know. I enjoyed all these movies. I mean, some of them had their flaws. Granted, even Justice League had its flaws, but I don't know. I feel how I feel. So whether it made money or not, who cares? I just hope that they can continue to build off of it. I mean, They've done
Yeah.
some things right, I think.
Well, I've got a few quick points to make. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a, I'm looking at Box Office Mojo here for worldwide unadjusted. Avengers made 1.5 billion. Avengers: Age of Ultron made 1.4. Iron Man 3 made 1.2, I believe. Captain America made 1.1. Like, it's insane. Like, Homecoming, Spider-Man: Homecoming made 880 by itself. So a lot of these ones, their lowest one was The Incredible Hulk at 263 million, which is like, I feel like that movie almost isn't in like the MCU, even though it technically is. It still seems like it's out there.
Yeah.
But for me, when it comes to the DC stuff, like, I did not like Suicide Squad. I thought it was kind of a cluster and really messy and junked up. I liked Man of Steel. I liked Wonder Woman. I think there's some good in Batman vs Superman. There's too much to get to the fight. And Justice League is a step in the right direction. The problem is, because now that they're reporting that they're going to lose anywhere between $50 and $100 million on this, because the movie itself, the budget was about $300 million. And the marketing went anywhere from 150 million to 300 million on top of that. And because they're not making that back right now, which they might with DVD sales, so they'll probably break even and it'll probably be fine, but they're still potentially losing a lot of money. That means, Joe, that even though you and I might like some of the things they're doing now, that might mean that if Aquaman for some reason doesn't do well, and Wonder Woman 2 I think is going to do really well, but it kind of puts all of that in a new focus, especially if we're not sure where Ben Affleck stands as Batman and where that standalone does. And then we got Batgirl coming and the Green Lantern and all this stuff and like the Flash and Cyborg standalones. Like, it's all kind of up in the air right now. And I hope that it all falls neatly. I want the competition to be fierce between these two. Like, I really want it to be strong, because that way it just pushes both of them to, greater heights. You were talking about this before the other day, Joe, but like Kevin Feige's interview with Vanity Fair, kind of recounting, he loved the No Man's Land stand in Wonder Woman. Kind of, he's like how chilling it was to him, and he said that it sucks that we didn't get to putting a female-led superhero film up before DC, but Captain Marvel's coming, and it's going to be a different film. But that just raises the bar, because it's like, hey, Wonder Woman is really good, and it's like Captain Marvel either needs to meet or exceed that. So I'm just hopeful that's the case, like I want that to be better. And then I want, that to be great. And then Wonder Woman 2 has to do better, and then like I want the standalone Batman to do really well. And then I want, to do like Black Panther. I want that to be amazing, so just like, that's what I
is
want.
it bad that I almost feel stressed talking about the whole comparison and them trying to do as well and all this? I just want good movies. I guess that was the point I was trying to make. If I enjoy them, then all the better. But it almost stresses me out or turns me off trying to be like, oh yeah, well, what's Marvel doing right that DC isn't, and all this and yada yada. Well, whatever, I don't know. Plus, I'm an impatient person. Like, I like the fact that I was able to see Justice League now, instead of waiting for all the build-up movies to it. I'm fine with it, freaking A, But I still would like to see some standalones too, especially now that I've been exposed to the group. I want to know more about them. But yeah,
well, you'll get that. Don't get stressed out, buddy. It's okay. It's all gonna be fine, because these things, they take time. The other thing too we got to consider, I still blame the Dark Knight trilogy on why DC is doing so poorly, not just tonally, just because those movies did so well, and Christopher Nolan was like, we're doing my thing. This is not part of an extended universe. And that's while Marvel was building up and doing all this stuff. It was like DC had to, like, everyone was waiting in the wings. Like come on, we got Superman and Wonder Woman. They're like, no, we're going to wait, because Batman's making a lot of money right now. People are taking him seriously. The George Clooney stuff was a joke. Batman's good again, and then after that, they're like, we get a new Batman now. And it's like, oh gosh, like DC was probably like, we're trying to make this work. And Marvel's just like, yeah, we're working on like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, what is that? I was like, it was a raccoon in a tree. Like, it's like, not really a raccoon. It's like an alien. But I'm just saying, well, I want them all to do well, and I do want to see where they go with DC, because I just assume Disney's going to buy DC, and then we'll just have everybody. Will Marvel Studios be making DC Comics movies one day? Who the heck knows? Like, that would be insane if that happens. I'm just kidding. That would be pretty unprecedented. If you're like, Superman, they did the crossovers, because they've had the crossovers in the comics. Cap and Superman are talking about American ideals. It's like, my America's pretty good too. And you're like, oh, I like American. Yeah, that'd be pretty great. Anyway, that's okay. Let's hope for the best for DC. If you haven't seen Justice League, we still recommend both of us to go and see it. It's definitely a fun time at the theaters, which I think a lot of people want to go and see. That's why I think Thor was so popular, is because it looked like fun. The old Thor movies, Joe, if you remember correctly, they're kind of dour. They're kind of They're kind of more morose at times, and I kind of liked that, but a lot of people weren't responding well to that, so they kind of took this jokey Guardians of the Galaxy direction with it, and people were responding really well to that. So it seems like DC's trying to change up and do a similar thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just what people are looking for. Maybe people are looking for the happy and not the depressing when they're killing time. Can't speak for all of them. I don't.
Shame on them.
Yeah. But speaking of something that's a little bit grim, we're going to get into the meat of the show, something that we waited a day to do because we want to talk about it. Yeah. I'm wearing the Marvel shirt. We got the guys in the background here. But we are talking about the Avengers Infinity War trailer. Finally, we get to see something. It's coming out May 4th, so we're kind of waiting for something to pop up. And now that this is out, I knew they were going to put this in front of The Last Jedi, Joe. Like, they have to put this in front of Star Wars because you get everyone to go see Star Wars. Like, oh, hey, that's that big movie. But we're going to talk about the trailer. So we're going to link it down below. You should definitely check it out if you want to. If you don't want this movie spoiled for you at all, I completely understand. There are time codes down below as well, so you can skip over all this stuff if you're worried about being spoiled. I know that I'm used to be like that. That's how I was for Civil War, and I gotta tell you, it was a hard way to live my life. I was watching other things, other superhero things. I was like, they'll never market this to me. There it was, like on the CW, they're even popping. I was like, oh gosh, get out of here. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about it starting now. Anyway, like I said before, speaking of grim, this trailer's pretty grim, isn't it, Joe? Like, the music and like the overall feel is like dread. Wouldn't you say it's pretty prevalent throughout? It's like everyone's kind of like, like, you know, it's like,
yeah, it gives you a little bit of an ominous threat looming, right? And obviously, you know, they show off the threat, so clearly it's appropriate. The music in this is good. I mean, it's a typical Marvel Avengers theme, you know, and kind of orchestral and impactful. It's well done. But
yeah, there's I'm glad that you mentioned the music because I love hearing that Avengers theme. I really love it. But they kind of, you know, there's something like trailer music in there, but there's a moment when they show Spider-Man, who is in his Iron Spider suit. He kind of lands on this kind of big disc that might be a teleportation device, but when he lands on it, it's kind of like the music kind of kicks in some more, and you're like, wow, it's getting really intense. And every character they show in this trailer, there isn't a lot of happiness at all. There's a moment between like kind of Black Widow and Banner where it's just kind of like, oh, that's, you know, probably nice to see. Besides that, everything is pretty grim and pretty dire.
It almost seems like a good it builds up anticipation and yeah, builds anticipation, I guess, for a big culminating climax, I guess. And I think we're well aware that that's the case, but they do a good job of giving you that feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe and I did some predictions on the most recent version of Trailer Master. So if you want to hear about those, you can check that out. But I kind of want to go through this trailer a little bit, pick it apart piece by piece. But Joe, before that, I just want to know, is there any character that you just love to see? I know you're a Winter Soldier fan. Was he the best part of the trailer for you, or was there something else where you're like, yeah, show me that?
Oh, you see a little moment of him. I do enjoy Winter Soldier, but yeah, I'm curious to see how he gets his arm back, all that good stuff. I see a lot of Wakanda featured here.
Yes, and I think that's smart because it's coming after the February 16th release of Black Panther. So I think, you know, introducing Wakanda in a movie before, instead of like going right there and like, where the heck are we? To be like, oh, Black Panther's here. These are his people. Like, it's fine. They're fighting.
Yeah. No, they'll do a good job of establishing that, right? So that'll be cool. Yeah.
So wait, was that you say that's your favorite thing? Winter Soldier and Wakanda? That whole...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot my train of thought there, or what we were... favorite part, I thought it was cool seeing Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and a little bit of speech out of him. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because that's a good point. He does talk throughout this one, and I get that kind of... I don't know if I want to say ominous, but I feel the threat. And I also like the part when he talks about, like, you know, when trying to put the universe in balance, one doesn't think about fun, but he's like, but I must admit this puts a smile on my face or whatever. And he's kind of like, he's just like one punch in Iron Man. He's picking up, you know, Spider-Man to give him like a choke slam and doing stuff. And you're like, wow, he's going to get his hands dirty. But they also have your bland and basic like alien army that's attacking Wakanda, which I was like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's the old staple, right? We've seen it in all the Avengers movies. We saw it in Justice League, and in a lot of ways, I feel like there's going to be quite a similarity between this and Justice League. Only more character involvement. I mean, you got quite the team for Marvel. But
Yeah, I was thinking about like, what do you think the budget alone for casting is? Because like they show so many big name stars in this. Like, everybody from the MCU is in this movie more or less, and it's like, wow, like the money alone to get all these people in one movie. I'm like, that's got to be crazy, right? Like, insane. Like, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, tens, hundreds, maybe of millions of dollars to do this. Like, that's pretty nuts. Like, it's
and
like,
then what did it cost to make, and what do they have to make to recoup? I don't know. Let's not think numbers. I do it every day.
oh no, I'm excited to think numbers because I want to. That's going to be the comparison here, Joe. Eventually, when we get numbers for this, people say, "Well, it was like 300 million for Justice League." I wonder what we'll see for this one. That's just what eventually. I'm excited to hear about that because it's fascinating to me. It's like they give like Robert Downey Jr. like 50 million every time you see him like show up in a movie. Now he's like, "I'll just give him 50." I was like, where are you putting this money, Mr. Downey Jr.? Like, it's just like,
yeah.
I have
I
no idea.
donated it all to charity. I'm actually pretty broke.
That'd be pretty great. One thing I do want to mention. Oh no, you got something?
Something Marvel does, and why I think this movie will be even more successful, especially as compared to like Justice League, is that they do a good job of really they've built up to this in a way that they've teased Thanos multiple times in the past. They've really kind of developed that storyline around the Infinity Stone quest sort of a deal. So even though a lot of the characters are kind of blind to that whole initiative, but they've done a good job of making the audiences throughout the history of these films really anticipate Thanos coming in contact with the team,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
What do you think of the look of Thanos this time? Like now we actually get to see him. The first time we saw him end of Avengers, actually like prosthetics, I think, but now like kind of a full CG
oh really?
look.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to do CG. I mean, how else do you do it? I don't know. I guess in a lot of ways, I'm sure it'll be just like Justice League with Steppenwolf. I mean, something of that scale and alien looking, you're gonna have to, right? Or it'll be a lot like the Hulk, whatever. Creatures of that scale, you got to go that route. And when they do the close-ups, I mean, it's not like you're not going to know it,
Yeah, it's even though Hulk and Thor Ragnarok, you could tell he wasn't really there. It still looked really good. It's weird because I'm trying to think of how Thanos looks now as opposed to in the Guardians of the Galaxy, where you see him sitting in the floating chair. Bit different, a bit like kind of slimmer, maybe even a different color, purple even. Like it looks like he's looking pretty trim. Maybe he doesn't have all his armor on. He can change that.
And in the yellow sunlight, reflecting off of his nice pale purple skin. Out there in space, it's not as reflective, and it absorbs a little more light, and it's a little darker hue, and his eyes glimmer a bit more in the moonlight, that sort of thing.
So besides his alien army, he's joined by his kind of almost his four horsemen, but I think they're called like the five or I have to check that name quick. But
I didn't see those. Who are they?
So it's weird. I only know like two of them, but they're going to become household names, I'm sure. Proxima Midnight. That is the person who throws the spear, and Captain America dodges it, and he kind of grabs it. He might just be called the Captain now. I don't know if he's, because he does not the America stuff. But that's one of them. And then Corvus Glaive is the person, we presume, the one who's kind of basically digging the Infinity Stone out of the Vision's head. He kind of has that thing, and he kind of like ripping it out of him or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'll have to look up the other ones now, but what do you think about that inclusion? So basically like a few baby Steppenwolves along with Thanos to join him in his world conquest. Do you like that idea?
Well, you knew it was going to be something of that nature. I feel like Thanos is like a puny imbeciles or whatever. This is a waste of my time. Get my stones, like this is like a nonchalant thing for him. Obviously, I hope the fact is that it's not. It proves to be more difficult, but I think his mindset, being confident, knowing that he's very powerful, he's like, walk in the park, that kind of deal. And I'll let my boys do my bidding a little bit, and I'll help when needed, but get the job done, boys.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sounds like that's exactly what it is, and it's just kind of funny to see this kind of emissary group that also happened in Justice League, but this time coming with him. But part of the Black Order, as what they're called, and just a bunch of kind of souped up, underlings, as it were, to go and fight off the Avengers. I kind of like that though, comparatively to just having like the alien hordes where they can fight off like 1,000 per
Yeah.
each person. Like, 'cause it gets a little boring. You see him fight a few people. I'm like, oh, it's just the Chitauri all over again. I'm like, it's okay the first time, but now it's kind of like, yeah, they've got 4 arms now, Joe. So they don't. It's like they can
Yeah.
punch us doubly as much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see those kind of pairings because it looks like you even see Black Widow stab one of them potentially or something like that. So I don't know if we're gonna get all 5 of them, probably, but that just means like another 5 brand new characters to this
Yeah.
film, which is like there's gonna be like 45 people, like as far as like main characters kind of go. It's like wow. So I'm interested to see the pairings on those fights, because it might be kind of interesting to see. We talked about this in Trailer Master, but you're kind of maybe coming around the bend on Scarlet Witch a little bit because we see her fighting somebody at some point. How do you feel about her right now?
I've never had a problem with her. I think she's a cool character, cool abilities, very powerful. Um, it, yeah, feelings. I mean, I don't want to dig too far into it. I mean, she's she seems like she's emotional. She ponders a lot of things. I mean, her feelings in some of the past movies, like when she stops a bomb from exploding in the square, but she raises it up, blows out an entire building. She's very, she's a very, she shows off her humanity really well, if that's a good way to say it. I don't know.
I think her and now along with the Vision, you kind of seeing a romance here.
Romance, yeah.
Yeah, definitely probably going to be the emotional center point of the film, I would guess, and kind of that relationship and kind of knowing not that it's completely doomed, but it's gonna have a lot of rough times ahead if Vision's getting that Infinity Stone ripped out of his forehead.
He
Yeah.
ain't coming back, people.
Well, there's also been some kind of casting rumors that they've been looking for, I think, like two-year-old twins or something like that, who could potentially serve as their children going forward into Phase 4, which gets kind of weird because eventually it's like, how do they have kids? He's an android and she's a human or a mutant, but then it's like she creates the kids, but they're actually part of like the devil, Mephisto, and he comes and absorbs the kids back. It gets comics, man. It gets really messed up. I don't think they would go into that unless that'd be pretty crazy. And we'll talk a little bit about the future here in a little bit, but besides kind of seeing him be one of the last people to be holding on to Infinity Stone, we have a few kind of out in the open. You see the blue and the purple, the Power Stone and the Space Stone on his gauntlet, at least in this trailer. We know that the Reality Stone, the red one, was with the Collector last time we saw it. The Asgardians gave it to him. And we are looking for not just the Eye of Agamotto for time, we're also looking for the Soul Stone, which I'm not sure where that is right now. So
what's the one in Vision's head?
I don't know if is that the Soul Stone or the Mind Stone? I think that's the Mind
Stone, and it's yellow.
Yes, but it was in a blue capsule in Loki's scepter, if you remember correctly, because he used to tap people.
How did it ever get in Loki's scepter, I wonder? It was there all along, and where did the scepter come from?
It was a gift from the Chitauri leader and Thanos to Loki to go take over the world. And I don't know why Thanos just didn't do this himself in the first place. He's just like, I'll send this force to go and do this, and I'll come there. But yeah, it was a gift. So I think Thanos had that one. It was like, all right, take it. And then Ultron got his hands on it, made the Vision, put that in there, and it was going to put his consciousness in there. But then Jarvis's consciousness got in there instead. So yeah, so we're still missing one of those. So there's gonna be there's a lot of stones up for grabs. But yeah, I'm interested to see, because the culmination will happen eventually, if not at the end of this movie, in probably the next one, the full gauntlet comes together. At that point, you start to get into some crazy stuff. You're starting to kill off Avengers and potentially bring them back. We're going to see a lot of those types of things potentially. And we might be seeing a lot of people like legitimately die. You know what I'm saying? Like this and Avengers 4. Kevin Feige talked about in this Vanity Fair this story. He said, like, you're going to see something you've never seen in a superhero film before, like a finale. Like, you're going to be telling the ending of a lot of these people's stories. So I'm guessing Iron Man and Cap are up on the chopping block for maybe not just death, but just kind of being gone, you know? And we do see kind of Tony Stark like just depressed. I mean, he's usually the cause of a lot of the problems in the MCU, and if he somehow gets Peter Parker killed for even a brief amount of time, you know, even if they bring him back, he'll still be like, I got a 15-year-old killed. I shouldn't have brought him to freaking Leipzig to go punch people at an airport. What was I thinking?
How old is he in this movie? 16, 15?
Yeah, be like 15, 16. Yeah, he's young. He's a youngster. Yeah. But you got to give it to him. He gets that Iron Spider suit and he goes to fight Thanos at some point. The other thing, Joe, and I don't think this is going to happen, but it looks like we're on a different planet at some portions of this film. You kind of get that yellow glare. Maybe they went somewhere. Maybe they went through a portal back to another place. You see kind of Thanos fighting Iron Man somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is the moment, Joe. If they weren't making a Venom film, this is where the symbiote would come into play. This is the perfect time. It would have been if it still happens. If there's two versions of Venom, I don't care. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that, you know, you're a huge Venom fan. This would have been the moment, you know, especially if he dies and something hops onto him and then he comes back to life and then he's like, oh, but hey, what the heck?
A Venom Iron Man.
That wouldn't work because he's got the repulsor tech. I'm sure it's been done. I'm sure someone would be like, actually, it has happened. But let's see. Why did we put flamethrowers on this suit? We shouldn't have put flamethrowers. The suit's like, it's like, please stop. But there's definitely going to be a lot of, you know, it's cool to see Thanos fight. You know, looking at him, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Steppenwolf. They kind of beat DC to the dark side punch, as it were. But he looks pretty cool, and I like to see a main villain getting his hands dirty. We've seen him kind of talking it up for these past few. He's like, oh, I'll do it myself kind of thing. It's like, okay, fine. You're finally getting out there. What do you think of Cap? What do you think of his look? He's been in hiding. He's got the beard and the long hair. He doesn't have a shield yet. What do you think of him?
He's probably going to be a freaking hipster.
No, he's not going to be.
No, I don't know. I mean, I like him. I mean, it's realistic. He's been in hiding. I mean, you expect it to be that way. So, yeah.
Sure.
And you know, the whole less Boy Scout look on him is going to be good, I think. Him and Winter Soldier will be much more. They'll really look like brothers now.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point. And I think one of the other kind of theories going into this is that crew from Civil War who was kind of banding together with Cap, kind of a lot of them maybe were hanging out in Wakanda or during this whole thing that went down and kind of unfreezing Bucky and stuff like that to kind of go and fight. We still haven't seen a few of the characters, though. We haven't seen Ant-Man, which a lot of people like to joke that he's in the entire trailer. You just can't see him. Which is one of my favorite things. I'm like, oh, there he is. I love that scene with Ant-Man. People are like, why does he's there? He's very tiny. But Ant-Man is definitely one, and I don't know if Wasp, because they're coming. That movie's coming after that. I think this coming July, we're going to see that film. But Ant-Man is one of the biggest that we haven't seen yet. We do get a tease at the Guardians at the end, which I don't know how you feel, Joe, but at this point, comparatively, I guess I just don't really care about the Guardians. They seem kind of like the B team. They are fun and funny, but at the same time, when you put them in this kind of this ring,
the power ranking at, they're probably like number 5 out of the 4 out of the 5. You know, 5.
Yeah, it's just like as together. My friend was saying this really well. He said like they all come together to make like one minor character like in this world. You know, now that you're like, oh, they're good. I'm glad you guys are here. Like with the Russos kind of taking control as opposed to James Gunn of these characters, we'll probably still get jokes, but it does seem more dire. I mean, we've seen Winter Soldier and Civil War were probably the most serious Marvel films, and that is the exact vibe I'm getting here. So the Guardians will be there. They'll be fun and funny, but not as much, which I'm excited about because I think a lot of the jokes have been a little too much even for me lately. If you dial that back a little bit, even Thor looks like really haggard, kind of like they might have killed like a ton of his people, and he's not looking great. But Thor Ragnarok, man, I know you haven't seen it yet, but they ended with Thanos kind of his ship looming over Thor and his buddies. So I don't know. That might be the first couple minutes of this film, watching a bunch of Asgardians get wrecked and Loki handing up the Tesseract. There's a moment in Ragnarok, Joe, where they're going through Odin's throne or his treasure vault, and Loki walks past the Tesseract and kind of steps back and looks at it and is like, so good thing he got it out of there.
I wonder how the Hulk is going to stack up against all this.
So that's a great question. Thanos is supposed to be very, 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 very strong, but Hulk, is not supposed to have a strength, like that he
Limit.
can't get to. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no limit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we're gonna see something relatively, like if they were to actually get in a fight, and I think they are, but I think he's gonna get depowered. I think if we saw them fight each other, we'd see something a little more similar to like Superman versus Zod, where they're very, very like they're both taking hits, but Hulk might punch this guy and he might not move like most everything does when Hulk punches it. He might just like take it and be like kind of look at him and be like, oh, you know. So I would like to see those two just punch the snot out of each other. I don't think it's going to happen for long, but I would absolutely love it. And we do see a new Hulkbuster armor coming out of like Wakanda, the Hulkbuster 2.0. Like that thing looks like a little more trimmed down. It's looking pretty good. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No. I guess I didn't really pick out a difference. I didn't pay enough attention, but I thought, oh, Hulkbuster armor remade or rebuilt.
Yeah, and they keep giving Iron Man new suits. Like he also has a new suit on as well. It's hard to never know. Like, you could tell the differences in the look, but besides that, you're like, what does this Mark 55 give you as opposed to Mark 42 or whatever?
I go back to Mark 1 and just,
He would die in like an instant, like
no.
that old, like.
Okay. Well, the original Iron Man suit, the cool one, I go back, I keep it on Mark 2 or whatever it was, and I just keep teching them out, building them up, just as good as Mark 55. Just stick with the OG, the memories, the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I just want to touch base on this quick. The Black Order, the group that we're getting right now. So there are a bunch of Thanos' adoptive children, which we have seen in the past, like Nebula and Gamora adopted. I don't know why he's adopting somebody. Anyway, so he can make them as little generals. Anyway, so we have Corvus Glaive, like I said, Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, and Cull Obsidian. Some pretty crazy names.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No comment.
No comment. We'll see how they stack up. But I'm excited. One thing I really do want to see is the Avengers come back together. I do want to have a moment between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, kind of like saying, hey, we have our differences, and I know we're not exactly on the same side right now, but this is way bigger than anything.
How does the government play a part in this, I wonder? Oh no, Avengers, not yet. We can handle this. Don't pull the trigger yet.
I would absolutely love to see, like, they're like, we have our group of Avengers which we trust right now, and they're government funded or whatever. And we're going to talk about that stuff a little bit later too. But and then they're just like, maybe we should still call these guys in, just in case. Like, come on. Man.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet, and I should have put this in our trailer master, but I'd be willing to bet at some point between the group that signed the treaty or whatever. That group and the government they're gonna have a disagreement or come to a head, and they're gonna make a decision that the government doesn't permit, and I think there's gonna be something of that nature in this one.
Yeah, well, the government's always kind of like, especially Civil Wars, come into the fold a little bit more, but it's usually like, yeah, you guys should just take a backseat to this because you don't even understand what's happening right now, and we should probably let these people come together. Like, let's not try to arrest Black Widow right now. Let her do her thing. Even though in such a situation, she would probably die. I don't know. I still say she's a Skrull. She's got to be a Skrull, all right? I'm just saying that. Maybe Hawkeye, too. I don't care.
Which is what?
Remember those chameleon-like things we talked about? There's going to be like a Skrull invasion, probably like these green aliens that can shapeshift, and they have like some kind of like telepathic or some psionic abilities or something. But I jokingly say that she is one because like, how else would she have survived all these fights? Being like a regular person fighting aliens.
That would be a really cool twist, wouldn't it?
And that's the thing, Joe. There's a chance that somebody is a Skrull. Like Nick Fury could be. Like any of these people could be. That's the scary part, because like at any time. Like, if you made Tony Stark a Skrull at this point, how pissed would everybody be? They're like, he's been causing all these problems. He's like, yeah, it's because I was a Skrull sleeper agent. I never knew. So that's going to be, oh boy, that's going to be big, man. People are going to be like, yeah. Anyway. By the way, Black Widow, do you like the blonde hair, Joe?
I think Scarlett's looking a little older than she normally does.
So that's a no to the blonde.
The close-up of her in the trailer there, called upon when we're needed or whatever. I was like, man, Scarlett, you're looking a little old there with that close-up.
Yeah, well, so are you not a fan of the blonde hair then?
No, I don't care. There's a reason for it. I mean, fan or not. I mean, if I was going to say my preference with the ladies, I'd say brunette, and I mean, my fiance is a brunette. There's a reason for that. But no, I'm indifferent on it. I mean, it was fine. Whatever. It was probably for a reason in hiding, whatever, all that jazz. So.
I just think it's kind of funny because I think it's like probably one of the most like attractive women in this whole universe. And I put the air quotes around it because if you start watching her in Iron Man 2, she is just like a straight up sex symbol. But like just changing your hair color is like not going to prevent the world from knowing it's you. They might be like, oh, wait, no, she's got red hair.
Well, it's like Clark Kent with the glasses.
That's
like, come on, you never recognize him.
That one's even worse because, like, I guess but the thing is, they don't emphasize this in Man of Steel or anything as much. But in the older Superman ones, I think they do a better job. I think he like kind of hunches over more and he's kind of more meek and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry," kind of thing. Whereas like when he's Superman, he's like, hello everyone,
Yeah, and in Man of Steel, it's kind of he's still the same person. You just put a pair of glasses on.
He's like, "I'm just the best looking person you've ever met, and guess what? I'm taking my job back." And they're like, "Clark, I went to your funeral," and he's like, "I'm back, baby." He's like, "I was gone for a bit. Don't worry."
Witness protection. That was deep undercover for a story.
Exactly. Remember what happened to Jimmy Olsen? He got a bullet to the head. That was a rough start to that movie.
Or like, here's a good example: Supergirl in the CW. Oh my God! You're telling me she like goes and talks to all these people? Then she goes to write a story about them. Like, hi, what's her real name?
Kara Danvers.
Kara Danvers. Hi, I'm Kara Danvers. I'd like to write a story. Push my glasses up and make sure my hair is in a ponytail. I know I don't look like Superwoman. I don't. Supergirl. I don't know who that is. Come on.
Not to be confused with Carol Danvers, who is Captain Marvel. It gets so confusing. Gosh, it gets even funnier if you want to talk about Captain Marvel and Shazam and all that stuff. Insane. Anyway, Joe, just finish up here about Infinity War. How are you feeling after seeing this trailer? Hypometer-wise, how do you feel?
I'd say I'm at a pretty steaming 90 degrees.
Steaming. It's pretty good. I'm pretty excited.
Pretty good about it.
It's nice now that we actually have something to go off of because for a while there, it's just I've always been excited about this film because I've been a fan since the beginning, but kind of not knowing what was going to happen or where the direction they were going to go with this, how much gravitas they were going to bring to this. After seeing this, I feel good there. And I know some people are kind of not sure about the dark tone of it. And they're like, oh, I kind of want to see a happy superhero film. And I get that, but this has been building up to this. And if it were kind of a joke, then it would kind of undercut like 10 years of all the stuff they've been building towards. You want Thanos to feel like the biggest threat. You want him to give him everything. That's probably why he's got the alien army. That's probably why he's got the Black Order. That's why he's there himself. You want to make this, you want to go all out. Like, you don't want to just be like, oh, he's going to send his aliens in first and then the Black. It's like they're all here. Like, it's all here right now. And the biggest threat the Avengers have ever faced. I can't wait, man. I personally, I'll put it at a 95. I will say that theme gets me so jacked up every time I hear that. Ba, 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 ba. I'm like, yes. I'm like, let's go. Let's fight together. Get that man a shield. Oh, by the way, Black Panther. I love that guy. I know you've only seen him a little bit here and there, but how do you feel about Black Panther in this? Seems like it's going to be a pretty prominent role.
I mean, he's pretty cool. I think he's kind of wise beyond his years, and I mean, I love the suit. Oh,
yeah, I love the suit too. It kind of loses it for me because like they try to do the Wolverine kind of the thing, but it's kind of funny when he does it because he's kind of like a bag lace. He's like it's like
yeah,
it's like not as cool as it, like the claws. If Wolverine were in this movie, it'd be like, oh, cool. He's like, let's go. But seeing him in that shot, that kind of money shot. They have a few of them in here, but seeing Cap and like Hulk and War Machine, Falcon, and everybody just like running towards the camera to fight that alien force or whomever it is. That part it's pretty rad. Pretty crazy though if you are unfamiliar with any of those characters. You're like, oh, who's the big? What's that thing? What's that? Yeah, I'm excited about it. Plus, Winter Soldier being back in the fold. I still think we're gonna see a tease of him in Black Panther in some way, and I love that he's got his big gun again. He's just ready to get back out there. He's gonna be running in there. You're gonna see him shooting stuff, punching things. It's gonna be going to be great.
Gonna love it. Gonna love it. Love it.
Another one there, I forgot. Hawkeye isn't really shown at all in this one either. That's another thing to keep in mind, too. So we've got Hawkeye and Ant-Man, who we definitely need another shot of Ant-Man on an arrow flying across a battlefield, because that was one of the best things in Civil War. I really absolutely love that. Yeah, man, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. We're going to see where it goes. There's so much to discuss with this one. There'll be more trailers about it, I'm sure. But we want to know what you guys think about it. Are you excited about it? Do you want to see this movie? Or are you just like, just can't wait? Or you're like, I'm not really sure about this now. Definitely a grimmer feel. But if you go back to the other Avengers, especially Age of Ultron, that one also, that trailer is very like, Ultron's like, I'm coming, I've got no strings on me. He's going to crush the Avengers. Like, and this is going to kind of like fulfill that maybe destiny that Tony Stark saw, at the beginning of Age of Ultron, where everyone's kind of dead on these steps, and Captain America's shield is broken. It's like in pieces, and he's like, I wasn't there to stop this. That's why he made Ultron. I wish beyond anything that Ultron could show back up, but it'd be too much. If Thanos was there and Ultron showed up, they'd be like, oh, yeah. Like it would be, they would not.
How would Ultron affect the outcome? What do you think would happen?
He'd quietly probably make another city into a meteor while they were fighting off Thanos, and he's like, I'm just going to kill the entire world, and no one's going to stop me because they're busy. So that's probably what would happen. They're like, what's he doing over there? And he's like, it's too late.
But his whole motive or initiative was to save humanity, right? But his only way to do that was to cleanse it and start over.
Well, yeah, eventually he said, like, the only thing living on this world will be metal, because he said humanity is its biggest threat to itself.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he was kind of loopy.
So would that overturn everything, or would he try and defend humanity from this threat and then end humanity? I don't know.
I was going to say, it would be like an uneasy alliance at best, but that would be... Man, I would love to see an Ultron army fight the alien army to keep him busy. And Ultron's like, yeah, I'm fighting 356,532 of these guys right now, so I'm buying you time to fight Thanos. Like, like he's talking with them. That would be incredibly cool. Oh, man. And then he's like, after this, Stark, I'm going to rip you in half. He's like, I'm going to do it. Like, that would be, that would be great. Yeah. But I'm excited about it, as you can tell. Yeah. It's Marvel. I love it. But yeah, I just hope, one day, Joe, we get this excited for a DC film. Like, I want to be this excited for I want to be like, yes, they're back. Like, Justice League 2 would be like, oh, here we go. Like, that's what I really want. I want that.
I don't know. I was about as equally excited for Justice League.
I will say this, though. They kind of beat DC to the punch again, kind of having... before Darkseid, because I think it's kind of hard to reveal Darkseid in a different way in a trailer now than Thanos, because they kind of have Thanos come out of almost like a boom tube, like a teleportation thing, and like walk into a shot, and it's like, that's how I would introduce Darkseid, and it's like,
that's cool. I would introduce Darkseid the same way they kind of showed off Thanos with the whole glimmering eye in the dark.
Oh, sure, but I mean like in a trailer, kind of thing, to like walk in. I don't know, because the teleporting big guy.
It's like showing the Indominus Rex, man. Nobody knows what he's gonna look like. This is an unknown character.
We could do after that? A helicopter could explode behind Darkseid, and he could turn and roar like the Indominus. He's like, the people are like, oh, that's what he looks like. That would be...
All right, on the less depressing topics, huh?
That's okay. Yeah, I would love to see that still. Please send your fan art to us. I would love to see that picture. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's the things I want to talk about as far as this brand new news. And then just kind of in closing, the future for both of kind of DC and Marvel. We kind of touched on DC kind of having these movies up in the air right now, but right now it's looking kind of interesting for Marvel. Obviously, they talked about these like 20 movies being made already, or 22 movies in. And we've got another 20 coming down the pipeline. Insanity. And talking about, Avengers 4 being a finale, going in a lot of different directions. We might be seeing something like the Young Avengers, some other crazy different things, different plot lines, maybe even different timelines. I don't know how this is all going to work. You introduce the Eye of Agamotto, you get the chance to do a bunch of weird stuff with the Infinity Gauntlet too. So what we're looking at here, Joe, I don't know if you got a chance to look at like all the things, but July 6th, we get Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then they're saying it's not part of the MCU because we're not sure right now. There's always the chance that Venom could tie into this, which is coming next October, which I think Venom and Aquaman, Joe, that's like your month, dude. Like, if that's the same, I don't know if they might have pushed Aquaman back to December. Now that I think about it, but
No,
um,
that's my month.
that's your month. The next big one, they say right now Silver and Black, which is February 8th,
Don't go
2019.
back.
For like that Spider-Man kind of like two villains. I don't know. We'll see about that. And then Captain Marvel comes out March 8th, 2019, which is kind of nuts because then 2 months later we get May 3rd, Avengers 4, which we still don't know the name of. I want it to be World War Hulk. It could be Kree Skrull War. It could still be Thanos. I would be surprised. I would not be surprised to see them still do a part 2 in a way. Just name it something different. But then starting on July 5th, 2019, man, Joe, like 2 months, bam, bam, bam. Spider-Man Homecoming 2, that is going to be the kickoff for Phase 4 and everything else for the next Marvel bunch here. So they're going to have that finale in May, and then in July, starting off with new stuff. Maybe Sinister Six stuff.
Who's the guy with the tuning fork?
Oh, yeah, there's a picture. That's Black Bolt from the Inhumans. It was like that TV show that did not do well. They had it in IMAX for like a couple. I didn't watch it. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to. It was going to be a movie
Hulk with
Vin
armor
Diesel.
on?
Well, yeah, that was a like kind of hint. Oh, that's in Thor Ragnarok, but that was kind of like a Planet Hulk. And you see like Iron Man armor in this shot. There's always the chance that they could put him in some sort of armor. I don't know why you need to. But apparently.
Yeah, it better be some tough armor. Who's the guy with the gold with the horns? I'm sorry, we're getting off track, but when I see this art stuff, I'm like, whoa.
I don't remember who that is. That's Sentry. I don't know who that is.
He looks badass. He looks like a Thanos killing machine, if you ask me.
And then later on, we have May 1st, 2020, August 7th, 2020, and November 6th, 2020 for Untitled Marvel movies as of right now. Any one of those could be the spot for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's just what I'm getting right now. I might have to look that up and see if that's... I don't know who that guy in the yellow is. I'm sure people are in the comments yelling it out. Let me see if I can get this. I'm not familiar with this character. Could be this guy, Joe. I think that's who it is. Ex Nihilo. Nihilo? One of the was one of the gardeners. Oh. In accordance with their mission as creations of the builders, transform into perfect creatures any species they encountered. Oh, that might get crazy, but they're going into the cosmic stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. But yeah. Yeah, I still wish Venom was going to be part of this, Joe. I'm not sure. We might still see something like that, a tie-in, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Even a tease, I'd take it.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of get into what people are excited about kind of coming down the pipeline here, potentially for all this stuff, because, you kind of hit it on the head earlier, Joe, saying that it's kind of for kids or Marvel is, but I would say it's just for everybody. I think they do a good job of making it kind of all-inclusive, kind of hitting, the families, as it were. Sure. Is there anything, particularly for like a genre that you would like to see kind of accessed for the MCU going forward? And by that, I mean, Ant-Man is kind of like a heist film. I think they even said Infinity War kind of like a heist film. You got a Cold War thriller in Winter Soldier. Is there anything, would you like to see more of like a horror-focused thing? Would you like to see,
You know me. Horror, thriller, anything of that nature, I'm down for. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. If you took some of these characters that are shown in this light, kind of similar light all the time, and then all of a sudden you threw a horror aspect into it where it's kind of like unpredictable and menacing and more scary than galactical terror. This, if it was a more intimate, like they're thrown into a more intimate personal setting, a horror aspect, and like jumping out scares, that sort of thing. It would be cool to see those people in that kind of a situation where normally it's like they're just facing something head on. They've identified it. And here, if it was something more in the shadows, it would be kind of neat. It would be cool.
Well, and because Venom isn't going to be part of this at all, I think we have to look at something else. And this was a suggestion from somebody, but like Moon Knight, who kind of is like a Batman who kills people, and it can be kind of scary. I don't know if you put him in like the horror category, but if told from the right perspective, you maybe could get into that some more. Personally, I would love to, like, not that they do a whole horror film about this, but Green Goblin could be kind of scary. All right, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm still a proponent of Green Goblin. We'll get back to him soon, but I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. I think they'll probably try to tackle every genre as long as they can because they're still making tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money. It's insane. It's really crazy. Yeah, man, I'm excited about that. It's pretty crazy. All right, Joe, it's time to get in that part of the show that I like to salute our commander, Jonathan Larson, our $100 patron over on patreon.com. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate you so very, very much.
You're the man, Jonathan. Salutes.
And as Jonathan likes to say, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. It doesn't. Mm-mm. It's kind of like a Thanos thing to say, almost, like at this point. You can see him saying that. I really did like the...
But whose fate is he concerned with? Just his own, right?
I don't. That's true. I really liked his voiceover. The thing that only makes me angry about Josh Brolin is that he's also going to play Cable in Deadpool. It should have been Stephen Lang. It still bothers me. I don't like that he's kind of too... I'm sorry. Neither here, probably, or there. But good for... Josh, you're making money, man. Do what you got to do. It's business. Now we get to get in that part of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call... Timekillers. That's right. It's time for Timekillers. The games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing, the trailers we've been breaking down. Joe, besides just pouring over this Infinity trailer, what have you been doing, man? What have you been killing time with?
Dude, I've been watching a show called... well, first off, I was watching All of Frontier. Blazed through the second season in a 3 days. It was great. And now there's another show that I've been turned on to that's kind of similar, but it's Old West. And oh man, and I apologize.
Godless.
Yes, Godless. And it is... The name escaped me for a second there because I went like right into it right away off of Frontier, and I didn't really pay attention to what it was called. I just started watching, and it's like episodes that are a little over an hour long. Right now there's only one season out. I think it's less than 10 episodes. I'm already on episode 3, and I'm just really enjoying it. It's really kind of dark and gritty, but still has that, you know, classic Western vibe, but it's really cool, and it captures your attention. And excuse me. If this isn't reason enough to watch this show, I don't know what is, but Jeff Daniels is in it as a main character.
Yeah, he's a really good actor.
Oh my gosh, he's awesome. And the role he's playing here is like sinister and darker than dark, and it's awesome. It's really well done. I think he even cut off his arm for this role.
Wow, really?
Great. Spoiler.
I don't think he really... Not in
real life, no.
Yeah. He's got a little green sleeve on there. Little green sleeve. Yeah. Is that all you've been killing time with so far?
Yeah, and then keeping up on my Call of Duty. Been dabbling in a little bit of Overwatch lately. Still have to come back to that one. It's fun.
Sure.
But
cool.
That's about it, really.
Cool. I've been playing a bunch of stuff lately. One of the best things I've gotten as a gift for a long time, XCOM 2, was a gift from one of our very own Legionnaires, Heist Boots. Thank you so much. And I've been streaming that. We'll talk about that later. But I absolutely love that game. It's a strategy game in which you get to create your characters, just the look of them and everything. They get certain classes, and then you kind of have like this tile-based gunplay as far as fighting and stuff goes against these aliens. You're trying to take back the planet, and you have like this base of operations. You've got ways to upgrade the base, upgrade your characters, and the more you kind of customize your characters, which I've been customizing them to look like our very own Legionnaires, the more attached you get. So the angrier I get if they miss or if one of them gets hurt. I'm like, no. So it's a lot of highs and lows, but it's pretty good. Besides that, I just finished up Punisher on Netflix. Now, let me be honest with you guys. I kind of like in the middle got really, really bored. I'm not going to lie to you. However, I'm happy to report, and I would recommend you do the same thing. Start on episode 11. Then there's 3 episodes, 12 and 13. So you got 3 episodes. 11 is in the trailer. You'd see it where he's kind of moving around and he's shooting people like really fast and stuff. It kind of gets that little bit of John Wick stuff. There are there's like 2 really, really brutal fights. And there's like 1 really, really gory death, which I was like, all right. And maybe it was more cathartic because I had to watch the people that he kind of attacks like just go on and on for hours. And I just really didn't like them. So seeing them finally just get like beat to hell more or less was amazing. And the final fight in particular, gets really into what the Punisher is about, I like to think, and that is like pretty sadistic, like not gonna kill this person, but gonna take your face, smash it into a mirror a few times, then drag your face across the mirror. It was like very like, oh, like he's doing stuff. He's like breaking this dude's arm and just like all this stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's like it gets really messed up. And I just every hit felt like I was like sitting on the edge of my seat for some of this stuff because I was like, oh my gosh, they finally got to what the Punisher I think is more about. Not necessarily just to be visceral and violent, but like him actually being like a soldier when he's shooting and kind of doing like setting up for like an ambush that these guys are going to come get. He like puts a shotgun like up between some vents and then comes and grabs it later. Just, boom, boom. He's like dropping dudes. Like it gets finally some action because a lot of this series is just them sitting around and talking in boardrooms. And it's like, I'm watching the Punisher here, but I'm not seeing a lot of punishment going on. So
except for the punishment on yourself for bearing all that boredom.
That's what it is, Joe. I was being punished. Very good. But yeah, if you want to watch the last 3 episodes, consider it like a Punisher movie. Yeah, you're going to be a little confused about like some of the plot. Don't worry about it. Just go in like that, Joe. I recommend you do this because some of the stuff gets like really brutal. And I was thinking, if they would have done this in like 8 episodes or maybe even 4 episodes and done just this and made the Punisher about like the action and the violence that the Punisher is known for, it'd be so much better. Because like those are the times it felt actually like the Punisher. Because a lot of those other times I was like, oh my goodness, it's like, what am I even watching here? It's just like some guy talking to some Homeland Security agents and the CIA and all this stuff. I'm like,
lame. I'll give it a try. I will take your recommendation to heart.
I will say this though too, they do try to tackle some PTSD for some veterans, which it's kind of interesting in some portions. But there's one person that comes back and they end up becoming like a crazy psycho terrorist, and it kind of like veers away from like trying to figure out how to deal with PTSD, and it's just like this guy's like, no, it's like okay, so you're gonna try to tell a good message or try to like, but it's like, nope, this guy's just nuts and gonna blow himself up. I don't know, it's just not good. But anyway, episode 11. 12 and 13. I thought there was only 11 and 12, but there's still a little bit more. And I was like, oh, good, because after 12, I was like, oh, they didn't finish this up. And then they go to finish it up, and I was like, here we go. Now we're getting to the Punisher stuff. It's like pretty brutal. There are still plenty of plot holes, and because I've gotten a lot more into editing, there's a lot of things like if Frank's face is bloody and there's like certain blood patches on him, and then they like cut away and they cut back to him and like it's different or kind of cleaned up. I'm like, there's like some continuity things, but again, just go into it. Low expectations. Do not, I repeat, if you don't want to waste your time, there's just so much nothing. There's so much of a focus on these auxiliary, ancillary characters, kind of like a lot of these other Netflix series have been doing. But if Disney gets the, and makes their streaming service, we might not see this stuff anymore. So kind of enjoy the best parts of it while you can. That's what I say. Yeah, that's what I've been killing time with. Anyway, let's get into my absolute favorite segment of the show, community feedback and questions. Joe, I asked our Legionnaires, speaking of the Punisher, about their favorite weapons. Favorite video game weapons, I should say. Let me specify these things. We had a lot of good responses. I think one of my favorites was from our buddy Machine and Soul, the Land Shark gun, which I have never heard of the game in which he was talking about. But it's out. What's it called? It's called Armed and Dangerous. But it's basically like a gun. You like point and kind of shoot it a direction, and then like a shark comes out of the ground and just eats a person. Pretty hilarious. I like that one. Ryan, he says, because he saw me streaming some Resident Evil 4, the Broken Butterfly, which is a Magnum. Baby kicks and is super duper good. It's a good one. Anna says, in Halo 5, the battle rifle. In Final Fantasy 15, giant sword goes swoosh. Look, a person, she says a gun sword, and I pressed her about it, and I said gun blade, and she said sword that goes bang, pew pew slash slash. I was like, okay, good. Bernardo Delcast says keyblade because it's so dumb, which is a pretty funny one from the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And to that I said, and iconic and cool and strange, but Missile Mage said blitzball, which is pretty funny. It's basically like it's an FF10, Joe. It's like basically like a ball that you use for a sport, but one of the characters uses it as a weapon. And later on in the game, you're fighting on like basically this plane, and you're fighting a monster, like monsters that are off the wings, and the guy can throw it so hard it can hit a monster and bounce straight up and come back to him like every time. It's pretty ridiculous.
Wow.
Game Over Review says original Doom double barrel shotgun. I mean, it's not a bad pick. Not a bad pick.
Oh.
All right, for our questions, Joe, Into the Abyss asks us your thoughts on the rumor of the Young Avengers being spotlighted in Marvel Phase 4. And one more question. What potential hero/villain deserves to be given the movie treatment? Mine would be Moon Knight / the Thunderbolts. I think, I'm not super familiar with the Young Avengers. I think I saw a movie about it a while ago, and I think the teams are always shifting. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do this. I think it's a smart move. If you start kind of like with the Tom Holland, thinking of like, hey, we got to cast young so we can have them be in it for, 10, 15 movies or whatever. I think that's probably a smart idea. Not only that, you get people who are excited about the MCU and then maybe bring in a younger generation who gets to see some more teenagers and maybe even younger join up and, fight these big threats and forces and foes. How about you, Joe? What do you think about this? Do you like the idea of having kind of a younger cast of Avengers come into the fold now?
Well, I think eventually it's an inevitability.
Yeah.
With who they have now, I mean, how much longer can it go on? And, eventually they got to freshen it up and create some more longevity out of the universe. So it's an inevitability.
Inevitable. I do like that he touched on this, though, because we said something about Moon Knight. I'm not super familiar with Moon Knight. I know a little bit about him. I think that's a cool character. And the Thunderbolts, which are basically a team of like reformed supervillains that kind of still have interesting motivations. One crew that I thought about that I thought would be a lot of fun be the Dark Avengers. Now, the Dark Avengers are basically a team set up by Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And basically what he does is he gets an Iron Man suit and he makes it look like the Iron Patriot, so all kind of, star-striped and spangled and whatnot. And he basically colludes or goes around telling everybody that he's like Iron Man, and he makes a team of Avengers that look like the Avengers. They're not the Avengers. So, for instance, Spider-Man is played by Venom, who is the Mac Gargan Venom. So not Eddie Brock, Joe, as you know. It's more Scorpion is Mac Gargan, but then he gets like the Venom symbiote. So he's still like all the Venom powers, but he goes around as Spider-Man. They have a few others that kind of are part of that team that kind of look the part, but aren't the same as the Avengers. And they're basically like going around doing kind of good things, but they also have hidden agendas. And there are a few characters that stick around on the team, but there's a few that like they just have to leave because they're like, hey, I'm not working for Norman Osborn because he's like a crazy psychopath, and like I'm not working, blah blah blah. I thought that would be kind of a fun idea because we would know as the audience that these were like the bad guys. At the same time, it'd be interesting to see them forced to maybe do some good things, but also do like some kind of things under the table, as it were. Do you like that idea at all?
Yeah, I do. I mean, my personality. I'm into that dark and trippy kind of stuff. So it could be cool. It
could be also
very cool. Different aspect.
I would love to just see Norman Osborn introduced here because Norman Osborn, as I probably said before, is kind of like Lex Luthor meets the Joker because you kind of have him plus the Green Goblin together. And if you can do that and kind of, mix and match that when you want, you add a really cool villain to this world, which they really sorely still need, just like a regular human villain that's always there at the end of the day, like one that they're not going to kill, when they put in prison, then he just keeps coming back.
Sure.
And if it's not going to be him, I mean, Dr. Doom is always another option if they can get all that stuff finagled. But I would love to see Norman Osborn come into the fold, be the president, and he kind of ends up taking over a lot of stuff for a while. It gets nuts. He's like in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he changes it into Hammer, like all this crazy stuff. But yeah, I would love to see like a Dark Avengers, kind of some sinister feel to it. I don't know. I think it could be fun. Just saying. And this is in the aftermath of the Skrull invasion. So I'm still saying the Skrull thing's going to happen. We've been kind of hinted at that in Captain Marvel. Wouldn't be surprised.
It'd be cool. After what you've told me, I think that would be neat.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. Excellent question. Thank you so much. That was a really good one. And we have a few from Anna because she had so many good questions for us. Let me see. Here we go. So what would you think, Joe, if they brought back a 1960s Adam West Batman, kind of the jokey, groovy one? How do you feel? How would you feel about that?
Save it for TV.
Fair enough. I get that too. How about this one? What are some elements from your childhood shows that you wish they'd bring back? Joe's like Smallville. Anything in Smallville? What elements from Shows today, do you wish you had back then? Elements of
The good
shows.
CGI. But
Yeah,
used sparingly like they did back then. Like for instance, Smallville, and then now you see like uh you know oh freaking A. DC eight, what's the thing?
the
DC
Arrowverse.
yeah, sure. Some of the CG they use there, if they had that capability for like shows that I love and treasure, like Smallville and that sort of thing, that'd be cool.
I remember being kind of taken aback when they had King Shark on Flash. I was like, whoa, they went with like a crazy man shark. I was like, I'm gonna give it to him. That's kind of crazy. Good
Yeah,
on
that
you.
was kind of crazy, and not it was pretty well done.
And
Pretty well
Grodd ain't
done.
that bad either. Big old gorilla. I was like, whoa, they're. I like that Flash isn't
Yeah,
afraid to go nuts in that show. Like Arrow's like it's kind of tame by comparison now to Flash. You're like Flash is like we'll pick any person or monster. We'll just put it in there. Um,
yeah.
let's see elements of my childhood shows. I try to think of like my favorite childhood shows, which are like Pokemon and stuff. I think one funny thing they did on Pokemon, instead of doing like they would have cliffhangers, but they'd also do the "Who's that Pokemon" to like get you to come back. You know, they'd be like, "Who's this one?" To find out in 5 to 8 minutes, and you'd come back and you'd be like, "It was this. It was Pikachu." And you're like, "Ah, see, I knew." And then the show is like, "Oh, and it's coming back on." You're like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching this now." Yeah, maybe that kind of thing. Um, yeah, I can't think of a lot of like TV shows in the past that I'm like, man, I wish they'd bring this element back. That's a good question though. And then I think of all the shows we watch today, Joe. You know, they're so like especially the Netflix ones, they bleed right into it, like one into the next. I don't know if I would have liked that as a kid. You know, like having to like
Yeah. I'm thinking of like a specific aspect. Like the CG capabilities nowadays are amazing, and you know you could. The thing is nowadays they're almost overused, but if they use them sparingly like they did back then, you know, it'd be perfect. But
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I don't know.
Final question she comes at us with, which is it says hashtag critical podcast. That's how you get a hold of us. But she said snow with 4 question marks. Discuss.
Skiing! Exclamation point! 4 of them.
Oh, nice. Winter Wonderland? Okay, here's the thing about snow, everybody. If you come from a place where you don't have snow, maybe you don't understand this. Snow, so pretty. Wonderful. Joe talks about using it recreationally. I've snowmobiling, a lot of fun, sledding, tubing, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
However, there's a downside. People forget how to drive in snow. Especially like, yeah, you do. March and February, it's not fun anymore. Like February, especially when it gets really cold and there's just like dirty snow everywhere, because everybody thinks of snow being like this perfect, beautiful white fluffy powder. All that. No, it turns into like these big black and brown chunks on the road. Like turns into big old ice balls. It's just not always the most fun, but I
But
still.
when you're in nature, it is pristine and beautiful. Like when I took my trip to Montana up in the mountains, nothing beats it. It's amazing. But I will say the one thing that comes with snow is the cold, and the cold can be painful.
Yep, that's very true. And the thing is, after
Plus, waiting for the car to warm up in the morning and all that stuff, it's like,
it gets cold enough, eventually it can't snow. But once it gets to that point, the snow that does fall is there forever, therefore becoming the brown and black, disgusting muck eventually.
because of all the salt we put on the roads that eats away our vehicles, that forces us to buy a new vehicle and all that is.
Well, that too, and there's like mud and dirt and all that, and it's disgusting. But that's just like what, you know. As I tell people, living where we live in the Midwest. We take that as opposed to like tons of tornadoes, hurricanes, volcanoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, sinkholes.
Extreme heat that you can never stop sweating.
Yeah, exactly. You can always put on more layers. You can only take off so many, especially legally outside.
Exactly. That's why in my office I always turn the thermostat down, and people get mad about it. But I turn it down from 70 to 68 because it makes a big difference. And yeah, you know, a comfortable place to work is good. I'm not going down to the skibbies. You know, you can always add more. You know, oh, you're cold? Too bad. Put on a freaking sweater. You know what I mean? Come on. I'm sick of sweating back here.
This is so good. Also, because of I have like a lot of equipment and stuff, especially in a smaller area, and like I like it when it's colder out because like my room will heat up really quickly. But then like in the summer and stuff, if you see me do it like the longer podcast in the summer, and I'm like,
yeah,
like,
you have to shut off the AC unit because it's so freaking.
Yeah, it'd be like, brrr. like the whole time in the background. I'd be like, "Hi, everybody, don't mind."
So
that.
the second you're done with the podcast, and I've seen him do this, he'll be like, "Hold on, I gotta turn my AC on," and he just cranks it up.
I turn into a puddle. I'm just like, because we live also in the Midwest, which sometimes is like hotter than anywhere else on the Western Hemisphere with the humidity included. So it gets like ridiculous here sometimes. It's like extreme cold and heat sometimes, but in the middle, if you get that nice fall and spring, but snow, it's good.
See, and I can deal with the heat, but I'm not a big fan. Like I sweat easily. Like even in the winter, if I'm inside at 69 degrees, 70 degrees, if I'm doing something strenuous, I'm sweating. And that's why I prefer the cold sometimes. And I love wearing a hoodie, good hoodie. You can't beat it, you know. I love the attire that comes with cold weather. I'm not a big shorts guy. I hate shorts.
Sure.
I don't wear sandals. So therefore, I hate all things that come with heat.
I don't remember wearing too many shorts this summer. I don't know if I just wore like my jeans. I like my jeans.
I'm a jeans guy myself.
Old-fashioned American jeans and a t-shirt
and cowboy boots.
And big guns and cheeseburgers and other things.
And hats and trucks.
All kidding aside, I do love cheeseburgers, and I did have a Culver's Butterburger tonight. Delicious. If you don't have a Culver's, I'm sorry, but if you do have a Culver's, super duper good. It's like the best fast food you're gonna have, and we are not sponsored by Culver's, not yet.
That's true. That's true. First, only in front of White Castle. I love White Castle. I
saw a coupon for that the other day, Joe, and I was like, I every time I see that, I think of you. I was like, maybe I should just like send you a picture and be like, hey, Joe, if you come over here, I got some pretty sweet deals. Like buy 40, get 400, you know, something like that.
Dude, sometimes like I contemplate when I'm in a area that has White Castle because there are none by me. I have to go to like Milwaukee or Minneapolis, but I contemplate like, should I just get a Crave case and like eat some and save the rest for later?
It's not gonna keep, man. It's not gonna keep. I'm sorry. Fast food never does. Fast food barely makes it home. Like it's not good. You look at those McDonald's fries like 5 minutes after they're warm. Like if you leave them,
but they'll survive forever. They'll look the same forever.
They will, but once you bite into them, it's just like soggy grossness. Like
what happened?
I love that we started this conversation talking about snow. Thank you. If you do have a question for us at any time, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. You can tweet at our official account, which is @GoCritical. That's capital G and a capital C. Or you can tweet a personal question right at me. I'm at JimmyGood013. If you want to tweet at Joe, you can tweet at
Lever_627.
Oh, wow. That's all perfect. Okay.
There's a lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
I was waiting for that last part, and I was just like, all right, maybe he's just like, he's changing it up.
I had to underline the graphic.
Yeah, you're close. Actually, you got really close the other week, and I was editing. I was like, wow, he's getting closer. Anyway.
Should be right in the middle across my chin.
I kind of alluded to it before with XCOM 2. We're finishing up Resident Evil 4 as well. But if you ever want to see me streaming some games over on twitch.tv/critical reviews, check us out on Mondays and Thursday afternoons. Typically, we're going to be back at it again. But we'd love to have you stop on by, just hang out with us. Yeah. I want to thank a few people. What do you say, Joe?
Before we thank a few people, I want to ask a little public question for next week. I know we'll probably have something else, but just a little blurb. I kind of thought of it as of now, you know, since we dabble in a little bit of Overwatch lately. I know you, me, and Drew, and even Levi, we had a 4-man wrecking crew going for a little bit one night, and we were having a good time. I wonder, you know, and that game's going on almost 2 years old. Coming up in the spring, it'll be 2 years old. But what games have people been playing lately? Like, what's your mainstay as of, say, September through now, or maybe August through now? What has been your mainstay game?
Yeah, well, you might find
always going to. What's always on deck?
I don't know, Joe. You're gonna probably find a lot of people who are changing their games up a lot. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe people will be like, I just play Overwatch. There have been people I know who still just play Overwatch. So.
Oh yeah, I know that's probably pretty popular. I'm curious what people are playing though. I think more than anything, maybe it'll open my eyes to things to try.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll definitely try to remember to ask that question next week.
Yeah, because I can't trust your recommendations. I mean, hey Joe, you should try this. Yeah, right, Jimmy. Whatever.
I wouldn't trust me either, because if only I made some sort of like review that I spent a lot of time on, and you could check it out over here or something. Gosh, I'm so self-promotional.
Obviously, I was being what was the word?
Facetious.
Sarcastic, facetious.
I did it.
This is the man that introduced me to Overwatch, and I still love that game. I get giddy playing that game. When I make some good moves, I scream, I laugh.
You were so like, I don't know about this game, man, and it's like, I think you're gonna like it.
Yeah. Now I'm addicted. I'm still addicted, but anyway.
Yeah. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank This is Daleb I don't know, doing an accent there for our intro and outro music. And I want to thank the one, the only, Joran Evers, our resident artist, our cell pen, as it were, here on the channel. All the art, like 99% of the art you can see on this channel, was done by him. And if you want a commission done, all you have to do is check out Jade Circle Art or Niraj28 over on Twitter. But if you want to get some of his work done and support us at the same time and get a cool avatar of yourself, check out patreon.com/criticalreviews. You can see various tiers and rewards, like getting this podcast a day or two early. So if you're interested in that, getting some hot news right when it's fresh, a pancake right off the griddle, as it were. We've been talking about food, and I'm getting mighty hungry. That's the best way to do it.
Jimmy, you missed a little spot.
Oh, I was saving it for later. Anyway, if you want to support the show, that's the best way to do it. But sharing us with a friend, leaving us a good review, checking us out, sharing us around. We're starting to get people told me to look into Reddit and stuff like that. That's probably some good ideas. But if you guys have any ideas of how to spread the show out, please just tweet at me anytime. I'd love to hear that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Joe, for being on. It was so much fun talking with you, as per usual.
Always a joy.
Yes, and thank you, dear Legionnaire, dear viewer, for people who've been here for almost 90 times, for people who are coming here for the very first time. Just know that we love you, we give you a hug, and just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.